Hello and welcome to Planet Hope, the magazine that follows the progress being made towards the UN's Millennium Development Goals. This week, we're heading to Tanzania, where in the last 4 years, there's been a series of tragic attacks against albino people. They're being killed because potions made from their body parts are believed to bring good luck and wealth, with witch doctors making tens of thousands of euros from selling such items. As a result, albino children are at particular risk as they've been hunted down by criminals. Benoit Pichot and Philippe Tels report on several centres in Tanzania who offer a refuge for albino youth.
Bibiana is albino. She suffers from a congenital disease which has removed the pigment from her skin. In Tanzania, her white skin has made her life a living hell, and her well-being is constantly under threat. 4 years ago, Bibiana was one of the first victims of an albino hunt. Traffickers in human bodies and limbs cut off one of her legs, which they sold to a witch doctor. Traumatised by her aggression, she lives her life walled in silence and no longer speaks. Her younger sister Tindi is the only one who can explain what happened.
My sister and I were sleeping at my aunt's house. 2 men broke in during the night. I managed to hide, so they grabbed hold of my sister and cut off one of her legs with a machete knife. We both began screaming, so the men grew afraid and escaped, taking the leg with them. I was terrified they were going to do the same thing to me. Then my aunt arrived, and the neighbours helped her carry Bibiana to hospital.
As well as losing her leg, Bibiana also lost 2 fingers during the attack as she tried to protect herself against the machete. She survived, but spent 2 years recovering in hospital. Tindi, however, is still in shock and regularly suffers from heart palpitations. 2 years ago, for security reasons, both orphans were sent to this secret school. It's hundreds of kilometres from their home in Mwanza, and they've both vowed never to return. Tanzania's second largest city borders Lake Victoria. Its 500,000 inhabitants are mainly poor. And it's here, on the shores of Africa's biggest lake, that the first albinos were murdered 4 years ago. Every year since then, there have been about 30 attacks, and although there is no official death toll, the number of victims is estimated to be at least 60. These are archive pictures of one of the first victims, 8-year-old Mariam. She was an albino, and that's why she was murdered.
Look at what you have done. Would you like someone to come along and kill your children? It is inadmissible. It has to stop.
Despite appearances, virtually no action has been taken to try to find the killers. That's because in Tanzania, albinos are not considered as human beings, but merchandise. They're called the zeru, which is Swahili for ghosts. Legend has it, for example, that a few albino hairs placed in a fishing net will produce a miraculous catch. Witch doctors also pretend that potions made out of albino limbs help one to become rich, bring good luck, or cure AIDS. Everyone wants their own good luck charm, and as a result, this macabre business is flourishing. To try to understand why, a meeting is arranged with one of the region's most influential witch doctors. He claims that he can use his powers to cure everything. But when the subject of albinos is mentioned, the conversation suddenly becomes more tense.
No, I don't use albinos. I've heard about what happened, but I wasn't there then. I heard about it on the radio, and that's all I know. It's true that there are witch doctors who use albinos, but not me. It's murder, and I refuse to get involved.
Our guide, Eddie, tries to provoke a reaction by miming the preparation of a potion.
Go around the village, I'll find him. I'll get you up the maybe end or leg, you know? Yeah. Catch there and come with that to the witch doctor. Yeah. Witch doctor after there, maybe make this one powder. After powder, changanya, mix with medicine. After medicine, maybe make another one, maybe petrol gel, and then you put on there. That is your trusty, and then you go to do job or to the mining, you know. Yeah. That is your trusting. Yeah.
The explanation makes the witch doctor uneasy, and he decides to end the conversation. On the black market, an albino limb can cost several €1,000s. So with most people in Imwaza surviving on only $2 a day, there's no question of hindering such a lucrative business. The Tanzanian capital, Darussalam, and its 2 million inhabitants is more than 1,000 kilometers from Imwanza. Here, the government has made a few small efforts to deal with the problem. For the first time, the Tanzanian president has given a government post to an albino MP. Al-Shema Kwejir is now the representative of the country's 200,000 albinos. She too experienced the same discrimination and fear. So 4 years ago, in a bid to defend her community, she decided to engage in politics.
People must be educated to know that people with albinism are human beings. They are human beings like any other people. They need equal rights like any other people. And now the discrimination in Tanzania has decreased, and especially when the president appointed me to be a member of parliament. My figure being in the parliament has changed a lot of thoughts to people in Tanzania. Many people have changed. So the discrimination has decreased a lot.
For the moment, though, Al-Shema is only a symbol. There is still no nationwide plan for the protection of albinos. And although attacks against albinos are a crime, only a handful of killers have been arrested, certainly not enough to dissuade the traffickers. In fact, albino traffickers are everywhere, including in Arusha, a safari region in the north of the country where tourists come to admire the landscape and the wild animals. What the tourists don't know is that humans are killed here. But some help is on the way. Hidden on the outskirts of a village down a stony path is the Doma Refuge. The children here are no longer forced to hide, and even more surprisingly, they play outside. For the past 3 years, Doma has provided shelter for 60 albino children, protected by a barrier and a 24-hour team of armed guards. Such measures are necessary to prevent any attempt at kidnapping. For the first time in his life, 8-year-old Alexander says he feels safe in Doma.
When they came, I was terrified. My parents were very scared as well. We thought if they came once, they could come back again. So for my safety, my father decided to send me to Doma.
Today, along with the other children, Alexander lives an almost normal life. Here, black and albino children play together, even if their daily lives are very different. The albinos have to protect themselves against the sun, which burns their skin and which can cause cancer. They have to constantly wear a hat and use imported sun cream. But these imported products are expensive, like their education, which requires special means.
You are welcome to Standard 1.
Every day, the head teacher visits the classrooms to make sure all the children are fine.
Good morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you, teacher. How are you too?
We are fine. Okay, get seated.
Thank you, teacher.
Get seated.
The lack of schooling, coupled with the fact that some of the pupils are blind and others emotionally traumatized, means that albino children have more handicaps than most. With no suitable glasses available, they all sit in the front row so as to be able to see the blackboard. They're also given more time than the other children to do their homework. These simple measures, which allow them to progress at their own rate, have produced excellent results, much to the satisfaction of the headmaster.
Thank you, we love you. Good morning.
We take them for their safety, so they can be safe, and also to give them education. Because some parents believe that nothing good can come from albino. They are not well educated. That's why you don't see any member of parliament who are albino, unless it's appointed by the president. Most of them are not highly educated. They are neglected. Now, we want to give them the best education as we can, and like other children, so that they can occupy some high position in the government, and they can help even others. Yeah, I have a dream that one day we may have a president or prime minister albino.
But the headmaster's dream is a long way from being fulfilled. The albinos here are the lucky ones and are being given a second chance. But the Doma Refuge is an exception in Tanzania, and only 3 such centres exist in the country. With no government backing or financial help, the centres have to fend for themselves, and everyone here lives in fear. The murders have not stopped, and in some areas have even increased. Press reports from neighbouring Kenya and Burundi regularly speak of new attacks against albinos. But for the moment, at least, the children at Doma are safe.
And that wraps up this edition of Planet Hope. Don't forget you can watch this program again and all our other reports by logging on to our website, france24.com. We'll be back soon with another edition. Until then, thanks for watching and goodbye for now.